Hello, my name is Stephen Huddart, and I am the President and CEO of the McConnell Foundation, and welcome to our one-on-one. He, him. I live, work, and play on the traditional lands of the Mohawk people here in Montreal, a crossroads for millennia before European settlers came here, and today a place where many peoples continue to share this space and to participate in acts of reconciliation. We're inspired by the Great Peace of 1701, when 40 First Nations from around the Great Lakes watershed gathered in Montreal and with the French concorded an agreement on how to share these lands, the wealth of these lands through trading routes and exchanges, and in a remarkable moment, created a model that we can learn from today. I've worked at the McConnell Foundation for almost 18 years. Prior to that, spent time with smaller organizations working in the charitable and nonprofit sector, as well as in business and media and other things. Well, today it's tea. Cheers. Tea and coffee are products that link us to global supply chains and remind us of the ways that we depend on people in the global south and connect us every time we buy something or choose to buy a fair trade product. Well, lots of both, but could I say face-to-face conversation is really the one that I would put above both of those. But truly, email has arrived at a moment when we are, and the whole internet, at a time when interconnectivity is such an important asset to use in forging coalitions, in understanding and connecting across distance. But for me, a great phone call, if I have the time, it's great to have a good chat on the phone. Well, I'm really excited about a book I'm reading right now by Seth Klein called A Good War, Mobilizing Canada for the Climate Emergency. I think it's something that people in our sector and indeed in governments and civil society and business should really take a close look at. It's a remarkable retelling of how Canada mobilized to really do an extraordinary job of participating in the Second World War. Many lessons that we can draw from that for dealing with the climate emergency. So that'd be my top recommendation. My brother and I founded a jazz club in Vancouver in 1985, and it became a lively community hub, natural food, restaurant, gallery, convening place. Had it for 7 years. It was a wonderful experience. Being in a community and working, one of my favorite things about this was we would once a month hold a special event for a charity with staff who would volunteer, musicians would participate, volunteer their time, and the charity we were working with would use this as a fundraiser. We would get donations of food and music and staff time, as I say, and we'd raise money for a charity that was typically just starting out. We were quite interested in, we supported the early work on the AIDS, in the AIDS movement, got very involved with Central American refugees. My most memorable career highlight, I think a peak experience, was participating in the federal social finance and social innovation and social finance co-creation steering group. Group of 20 of us were appointed to work with federal officials to create a strategy for Canada. The Inclusive Innovation Strategy paper that came from that has, I think, a wonderful set of recommendations for reconstituting the relationship between civil society and the federal government and governments overall. We've seen early and very promising work being done with the Investment Readiness Program, leading to what we hope will be soon the announcement of the Social Finance Fund, which we can really use right now. And with other recommendations that I think are just as important, but we're still waiting to see implemented, such as a permanent council for civil society and federal consultations. My 18 years in philanthropy have taught me a lot. We're custodians or stewards of extraordinary financial resources and an extraordinary freedom to deploy those in ways that can help people, communities, ecosystems. We've got these financial resources that I think are complemented by the ability to convene, to spend time in learning and researching and testing and doing, practicing sort of social R&D. But it's the stewardship of those resources that is central. And below all of that is the question of trust. Our most precious resource is the trust that we have as practitioners in this space, conferred by the boards for whom we work as staff, and the communities that we serve in, or with whom we are in service to larger goals. Philanthropy can and is doing better these days by unpacking some of its assumptions and exploring or examining its own privilege and being more humble in the face of the challenges that we're all dealing with, learning to make room for diversity, for BIPOC leadership. I think we can do better by making sure that our staffing and governance are informed by diverse perspectives. And that's, I think, something that's important and ongoing now in Canadian philanthropy. Grant makers, I think, should remember that they can't do their work. We can't do our work without community partners. We are in service of the grantees, and I think we need to remember as grant makers that the restrictions, the impositions, and so on that we put on grantees can often be quite counterproductive. I think that we're learning that core funding, trust-based funding, another way to describe this, is some of the best grant making that we do. That trusting in the knowledge and integrity of people on the ground to make the best use of the resources we provide, with latitude to adapt and change and shift priorities and so on. These are all, I think, attributes of effective grant making these days. And grant makers, I think also, if we're talking about philanthropic organizations broadly, I think grant makers need to appreciate, and we all, I think, understand that the granting economy is tiny. It's insufficient to or often insufficient to the broader or greater challenges that we faced. And this leads us into the consideration of how grant making is complemented by, or can be complemented by, impact investing or solutions finance. I'm hopeful for the next generation in Canadian philanthropy because I'm seeing an extraordinary level of energy and commitment and consciousness and new ideas coming from a new generation of extraordinarily diverse and talented young people coming into our field. I'm part of a generation of old white guys and women who are leaving the stage now to make room for a more diverse cohort of leadership and visionaries and practitioners in this space. So that's a great source of great hope for me personally. 3 words that I would choose to describe my career would be eclectic, fortuitous, and connected. Eclectic because I've worked in many different fields, both in Canada and in Latin America, in the US, in New York, and from time working as a journalist to teaching English to being a museum curator, working on Mayan music, and just so many other things, the jazz restaurant that we mentioned earlier. This eclecticism has really, for me, given me a window into many different areas of society and work in the public sector, the private sector, and in civil society, helped me see how there are assets and strengths in each of those areas that are, when connected, very complementary and can leverage or create outcomes that are impossible in any one sector alone. And fortuitous because I feel like I've been so very lucky. I'm the beneficiary of philanthropy, of the McConnell Foundation's philanthropy, actually, because at a certain point in my career, having never been to university, I was able to, I obtained a spot in the McGill-McConnell program for voluntary sector leaders. I was I think about 50 years old, and really had an extraordinary experience with a group of change leaders working with Francis Wesley and Tim Broadhead and a whole range of group of wonderful mentors, and just learned so much. And connected is simply that I think given the diversity of experiences and places and people that I've had the privilege of working with and being part of, I think philanthropy gives us that sense of an overview and of looking at complex systems, geographies, opportunities from a perspective of connectedness and of linking things together. And I take a lot of pleasure in making connections and supporting others in making connections. Three pillars of Canadian philanthropy. I think the first one would be collaboration. I think we're learning in this field to come together to support work that we couldn't do on our own. We have the example of PFC, Community Foundations of Canada, these peak organizations, Imagine and others, that enable us to think together, to respond systemically and thoughtfully to challenges. And with that enables creativity to take place. We use the term social innovation, systems change, but philanthropy really has that role in society of enabling the possible to become visible and potentially real and to deploy and implement. And then just to conclude with compassion, and I think this is one where at the heart of the philanthropic impulse or the philanthropic response, we have this capacity to listen, to respond, to thoughtfully and emotionally and supportively engage with vulnerable people, organizations, communities, and to respond that way, I think it's part of the heart of the philanthropic response. The future of philanthropy, I think, is pretty exciting. We're brought to a point where the integration, the thoughtful consideration of worldviews, institutions, and technologies, those are the three words we'll use here, enable us to grapple with these larger systemic questions that I think are at the heart of this current crisis. It's something that philanthropy can now very usefully contribute, is in the midst of crisis, the creation of those spaces, times for thoughtful consideration, for listening, and for reimagining what's possible and what's desirable. We do have to concern ourselves with the immediate, and thank goodness that government is stepping up the way that we've seen generously and openly supporting vulnerable people and putting some supports behind small business and so on. I think we do have a shared responsibility to keep charities afloat and to help them navigate through these times. These are the means by which we express our philanthropic contributions, and that whole sector is very significantly challenged right now. But then there's also this question of the medium to longer term, and philanthropy has an important role to play there. There's a project that we were involved in that taught me so much and actually continues to, called Winnipeg Boldness. And it involves a group of Indigenous women in the north end of Winnipeg. And the way this came about was McConnell was looking for a way to test what was then a new financial tool called a social impact bond, a way of putting repayable capital to work on creating different outcomes, on testing a hypothesis for a different approach to a stuck problem, and then having a government, usually, or government or foundation, repay the initial investment. And so in looking for a place to do this in Canada with an Indigenous focus, which is something that we were and continue to be very involved in, Indigenous reconciliation, we heard about the North Winnipeg neighborhood of Point Douglas, and found ourselves, a consultant and I were there and sat down to talk about what might be possible. And Diane Rusin was at the head of the table, and a group of her colleagues and advisors were sitting around with us. And I went through an explanation of what a social impact bond was and why that might be a way to work together. And she listened politely and said, at the end said, listen, if you're ready to put the foundation's resources, the funding on the table, and let the community decide what is most important and how to deploy those resources, then we should talk. Otherwise, we're both wasting our time here. And it was great to be challenged that way by an Indigenous woman who really knew what she was talking about when it came to that community. And within 10 minutes, we had a handshake agreement. And within a week or so, she had left her job as the executive director of the largest social agency in the community. And Winnipeg Boldness was born. Well, the climate emergency is really the mother of all emergencies for us at this point. If we don't address the mandate given to humanity by the United Nations, the IPCC, things are really will be much worse. So I think, first of all, I think we all have to accept that the climate emergency calls upon us to put everything we can and have and could possibly contribute to moving forward in an inclusive and sustainable and resilient way. But it's more than that. I think there are attributes to the climate crisis that address, that highlight societal inequities. So the whole climate justice movement and the disproportionate way that the climate emergency affects people of color, people on the margins, and so on is I think an important dimension of this work. And philanthropy, I think, has a responsibility to make that connection and to support community leadership and participation by BIPOC communities in order to create a truly inclusive way forward here. There's a remarkable set of challenges and opportunities here. And I think in Canada, we have some very remarkable efforts underway. McConnell participates in the Clean Economy Fund, and we're now working and see work happening with the financial sector and shifting the way the governance of capital, of pension funds and so on, has to take account of climate risk. Philanthropic organizations are stewards of endowments, and one of the places where we can really make a difference is with our investments, in shifting them into renewables, in looking at a variety of ways to align our investment assets with our missions. Civil society has been changing quite significantly in the last few years. We are now out from under the restrictions on policy advocacy. It took a lot of work, and many organizations came together to really turn the channel, or to move in a different and better direction there. And I think we see some early and very promising examples of philanthropy supporting public policy research and public policy advocacy. And I think there's more work to be done, and it is thankfully taking place around the regulatory reform that's now underway with CRA. We have the Senate report and its recommendations on reforming of the relationship with the charitable sector. Part of this, I think, is just removing some barriers that have been there for a long time on regulatory barriers around monitoring and control, and so on. Indigenous reconciliation is a great national project and something that stems from the tremendous feeling of grief and shame and disappointment that we all as Canadians felt as we learned through the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission about the cultural genocide that had been perpetrated by the state, working with the churches, and the whole history of colonialism has given us the 94 calls to action from the TRC have given us a clear direction. The philanthropic declaration in response, I think, is a good start and a guide, sort of guiding principles for this essential work. I think all Canadian foundations have a role to play in this space, and certainly at McConnell, we've taken this on board. Our board has been through a workshop with Reconciliation Canada, and staff, we have Indigenous staff. We are granting and investing and really deepening relationships with Indigenous organizations and Indigenous leaders. Racialized violence, systemic racism, systematic exclusion from opportunity. These are realities for too many people in Canada. And we have a responsibility to respond in thoughtful and strategic and collaborative ways. So this isn't going to happen overnight, but it does have to start now. And I think we've been given a tremendous opportunity to build a better society when we take up these issues thoughtfully and with the philanthropic capacities that we would bring to any issue to make room for diverse voices at the governance tables, in staffing, in programmatic partnerships, and to help the field. Why aren't we reaching out and supporting capacity development, spreading awareness, enabling people to see and take part in philanthropic processes and collaborations that where there's so much to be done. Balancing our efforts between the immediate and the urgent and the longer term is such an important tension and conversation to be had in Canadian philanthropy. We are in the midst of a compounding crisis, which puts a very strong and immediate claim on our resources, including our attention, our funding, and so on. But as foundations, we also have a responsibility, a kind of propensity, it's in our DNA, to look long-term. A foundation is, from a certain perspective, an intergenerational commitment to the long term. We just happen to have put together at McConnell a set of postcards called 12 Lessons to Learn that explores these questions that I would encourage anyone interested to download from our site. We have to take urgent action today on those issues. The second wave of the pandemic, I think, is making it very clear that we have to be thinking about pandemic fatigue, about who is still vulnerable or who faces renewed or further vulnerability. There are many in our communities who are suffering and who are in need of support now. I think while we talk about the second wave, we also have to be thinking about what the trajectory is beyond that, although we hope that a vaccine will be available sometime next year, and sooner the better. This is a process that isn't going to end then. We've got, I think, something like a 4 or 5 year trajectory out of this. And so planning and organizing and supporting society and convening leadership across sectors, working with anchor institutions, hospitals, universities, school systems, to think through what this can and could and should look like, where we want to emphasize things is important. I'd like to take this moment to thank all of the people with whom we've had the privilege of collaborating, my mentors, partners, colleagues, friends across this remarkable space called Canadian Philanthropy, and wish everyone the very best in dealing with the extraordinary challenges we face. I won't be leaving too soon. I'll be around. I'm not going to be working at the McConnell Foundation, but I hope to keep in touch with many of you and wish you all the very, very best. Just want to say thank you again, and congratulations to PFC for putting together this as part of the upcoming program. I really do feel like PFC is doing tremendous work these days. We're really proud and pleased to be members, and this is just another expression of why we value your work so much. Thank you again for coming to my one-on-one, and all the best.